I've got one more
Yeah,
shout to the boys from Westchester playing
yeah.
Greenville, holding them to a draw. Fun, good game on Saturday. Love to see it.
I was going to mention Greenville coming up
Oh,
because,
yeah.
hey, it is a battle of the belts as we get into our predictions segment where there might be a belt changing hands. And it might be handed to Ronaldinho as he is going to be in attendance for this match. Turns out, when we talked about it earlier, Ronaldinho does know where Greenville, South Carolina is. Is that because they asked him to come out this time? Maybe. But he's going to be there for the groundbreaking for Greenville Triumph's stadium. And he's allegedly going to be at the match, which I kind of put it out on Twitter and Blue Sky that, really the highlight of his career is going to be meeting our good friend, Giovanni Cagnas. That really is the highlight of Ronaldinho's career, clearly. So I'm excited for this one. That we are going to see what this Union Omaha team looks like in their title defense, where they get a big central midfield presence and a big forward presence, where a lot of the holes that Eamon Zayed rightfully pointed out seem to be kind of filled. But Greenville came out and looked great against Westchester. Westchester had, like you mentioned, a little bit of issues. They're an expansion team, but they're a dang good one. And Greenville looked like the more mature squad, as they rightfully are. So let's go ahead and get into the predictions. John, let's start with you.
I've got Greenville taking this one. I think it matters that they've got some real match minutes under their legs already. This is a squad that, despite adding some big names, still has some continuity and played a system that was pretty much identical to how they ended 2024. Yes, it's a short turnaround, but I think being at home for both legs of it matters. Omaha has some question marks. Where does Prosper fit in? What do you do with that front line with Amici and Wamri? I think Cello is going to be awesome in the central midfield at some point, but does he slot in already? I see this game being low scoring and somewhat defensive overall because I think Omaha is organized at the back and can counter Greenville's strength quite well, especially if Greenville wants to kind of work expansively through Evans on the right. But yeah, something about this is just leaning Greenville for me in the end.
Ryan?
I've actually picked Omaha on this one. They are weirdly on a streak of 4 consecutive wins against the Greenville Triumph right now. So I think Omaha will go into Greenville and make it 5 in a row against the Triumph and spoil the party. And Ronaldinho's birthday is actually in 10 days from today when he'll turn 45. So it will be an unhappy early birthday gift.
Phil?
I'm going for Union Omaha on this one as well. I think they just come out of the gate strong, and I'm also taking a new tack this year, which is I am waiting for predictions to come in, and then I am picking against like the crowd so that I can pick up points in almost every matchup, because this is a pure numbers game at this point and I can't do worse than I did last year. So I am also playing some of the averages here to try and gain points on people.
By the way, there is a change to the way we do these predictions. We went from 10. We are now down to 6. We'll take 2 from Super League, 2 from the Championship, 2 from League One. And our prediction segment now will only have 3 matches to predict. If there is especially loaded match or loaded week where there's like 3 great matches in the Championship, we'll be flexible and add 1 or 2. But we're going to try to stick to that 6 pretty strong. For me, if you are watching the USL show for the first time, thank you. There's been a whole lot of new subscribers. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1,000 before July 25th. I don't pick draws, even when I think there is one, which I do. So I'm going to go with the home team for the graphic, and I'm going to say Ronaldinho has an amazing birthday and coming up in 10 days. Apparently. Thank you, Ryan. And I think that what Greenville did in getting actual match minutes together, going against the Union Omaha team, which looks great on paper, but they have yet to play a real match, honestly, without Dolabella, which I think is a huge deal. And yes, they have added some firepower. They have replaced well in the midfield, but it's never played together. This Greenville team has this year. I am going to go with the Greenville Triumph. John, we're going to go back down to the low country where we have another rematch because, hey, the USL schedule makers were really in their bag this year. They said, Charleston, what's the hardest beginning of the season we could give you? Well, let's give you Rhode Island. Why not? And this is a Rhode Island team that haven't really, what did they do? I'm trying to remember. Did they play last week? They did not, right? No, I didn't think so. Because I was like, am I trying to recall a match? Did not happen. So they're a little fresher. Charleston's going, but they have a week. Charleston's a week together and a week coming off a loss. Are they going to be extra motivated? John, who do you have?
They might be motivated, but I think it's going to end up as a draw. I think matchup wise, we obviously saw last time around, this was the dead middle of the JJ Williams heater. I think Rhode Island made some really keen adjustments mid-game and was able to shut down Aaron Malloy pretty effectively. Can they repeat that while they're integrating Maxi? I know there are some injury issues at the back potentially for Rhode Island. Feels like this will be a fascinating matchup to see what Pierman does, but I think it ends splitting the points in the end.
Ryan?
Yeah, I picked a draw on this one as well. Both regular season matchups from the teams last year was a draw, including 1-0. So I have the points being split, and for the first time since October of last season, Charleston goes 2 consecutive home games in the regular season without a victory, including that 2 consecutive games from last year was also a draw against Rhode Island. That was the second game.
Phil?
I actually have Rhode Island squeaking out a win in this one again because I'm the only person who's picking Rhode Island, and so I could pick up some points here. But I think Rhode Island are going to be extremely strong this year. I like the chances of coming in, and they're going to present like a very different challenge for Charleston than Louisville. And I like the chaos that their front line can cause against what is a very good Charleston defense. So yeah, I'm going for Rhode Island, and maybe a little bit of a 2-game crisis down in Charleston. They'll be fine.
I think they'll be fine as well because I think they're going to get a win versus Rhode Island. We talked a lot about Husu and Malloy and just like what they can do as a holding midfield pairing. And when you have the best 2 holding midfielders in the league playing together, you can slow down a lot of the attacks. You can slow down almost everything. And their back line is still fantastic. And we talked about it before. Cal Jennings at some point is just going to start scoring and not stop. I don't think that his heater is going to start in the second game of the season, but he does have to get off the mark. And this feels like the kind of match that's going to do it. I think it's going to be a party down in the low country, have a great time with the shrimp broil with my friends. And I think they are going to be walking away with all 3 of Patriots points. Finally, we are going to go with the Super League where we have the Tampa Bay Sun, who we did not talk about them in this match, where they get a draw with another Florida derby. I feel like they always play Fort Lauderdale. I know they play each other like 4 times, but I feel like this is the 7th time they've played each other, and it's yet another draw. And Carolina coming out with a win in their last match. These are 2 teams that are truly on the ascent, but only one of them can walk away with all 3, or they could share it. John, what do you think?
Leaning Tampa Bay here. I think both of these teams are kind of coming off of results where you feel like, yes, they got points, but they weren't really clicking offensively. Carolina's real strength was the combination play of Ashlyn Merrick and Riley Baisden on the right. Tampa Bay is set up to shut that down. They've been running with this kind of off-balance formation where Pedro Menderes plays pretty low at left back, and they let Jordan Zaid get upfield. If you're already hedging against the left, you're shutting down what Carolina does best. I also don't think the Ascent are as organized as Fort Lauderdale. I think Tampa Bay is going to have a better time in possession, a better time creating chances. So, hey, yeah, leaning Sun.
Ryan?
I picked a draw for this one. What stood out to me is that these teams have scored in each of their last 4 games. So I do feel like we'll be on the cards for a really high scoring fixture. So both teams score, but it ends all square.
Phil?
I've got Carolina in this one. particularly what I like about their game against Lexington coming into this game against Tampa Bay is just that they were able to create chances. So if they can find a little bit more fluidity, I do think that they can be dangerous. And again, nobody else picked them. So I'm finding my gaps here.
This is gonna kill me every time we do predictions, man.
I'm gonna see if I can game the prediction table.
Well, I mean, I would prefer you didn't, honestly. Just to be honest, I want to go with the Sun here. I like what Tampa Bay are doing right now. I've been kind of on this train that I think the Sun might end up being the end of the season champions. They just feel like they have that about them. It's not really something I'm willing to like just stamp and be like, yes, I absolutely believe this. But they are one of the teams that I just get the feeling about. And Carolina, as much as their 2-1 win impressed me against Spokane, Lasses at Spokane, like they're not great. It's I don't know how I feel about it. I need to see them do it against a better team personally. I went with the Sun.
We've got lasses and lads covered.
I was going to say lads.